Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. In this special edition, we take a look at a highly controversial notion, that being the concept of female pleasure, and in particular the women who are fighting for sexual liberation and autonomy in a world that still refuses to acknowledge our rights as such. It takes guts, that's for sure. I'm talking about 5 women from 5 countries who are directly challenging social norms when it comes to promoting female sexuality. In the documentary Female Pleasure, Swiss-German director Barbara Miller meets these 5 incredible individuals who are breaking the silence. Let's take a look.
We live in an environment where women are constantly judged.
女性は男性のイメージ通りでなければ嫌われます。
What is it that happened billions of years ago that they felt they had to do this to our bodies?
The concept of love does not exist in India.
In der Welt, in der ich gelebt habe, war ich als Frau eine Gefahr.
I was 17 years old. I was to have intercourse with someone I didn't know.
It's about controlling women's sexuality, and that's a global issue.
チンコは立てまつられているのに。自分の肩でも取ってワンコっていうか
An artist in Tokyo has been arrested for 3D printing an image of her vagina.
非正規になっても日本がそんな状態なので。
They're practicing patriarchy, which is a universal religion.
It's very difficult to have men talk about things which actually questions their masculinity.
Women need to remember that they actually own their bodies.
The female body is just as precious, just as valuable as the man. We cannot isolate the role of men and the role of women. It's not a question of fixing one gender before the other. We all have to change.
And film director Barbara Miller joins us in the studio today. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, what inspired you to make the documentary?
I really wanted to find out how today, in the 21st century, women feel when it comes to their body, to their sexuality. And I was wondering why, if you look worldwide, for most women, sexuality is more about an obligation or even pain and not pleasure. And I came across this 5 world religion with texts that are demonizing the female body, with this idea that the female body is bringing all the sins to the world. And I was looking for 5 women then from this 5 world religion to tell a worldwide story.
And if you're looking for what connects all of us, there is one consistent theme throughout many societies, in fact all societies, and that is the urge to control female sexuality.
Exactly, and this for me was really realizing that in all world cultures, world religions, are based on the same idea. It means this huge fear of a self-determined female sexuality. It was really incredible to understand and to see that it's still today we are struggling with all these ideas. Female sexuality also today is not where it should be.
Barbara, how did this film affect you personally?
I think I learned in a way that we still have a lot to do if we're talking about female pleasure, female sexuality. And yet, on the other hand, I really realized that 5 women or thousands of women from all over the world are changing the world because they're speaking up. They dare to speak about a topic that is still totally taboo, female pleasure, and what it really means, and how we can move forward as a society to finally arrive at a point where female sexuality is no taboo any longer.
And in many parts of the world, female pleasure or female sexuality is still seen very much as a Western construct. But even here in the West, we struggle with it too, don't we? I mean, for instance, you can look at how we regard the clitoris.
Yeah, in most school books, it doesn't exist even in the West. Like Leila Hussein says in the documentary, there's this core of fake orgasm going all through the world. I mean, still today, also a lot of women struggle to really say what they would like, how they would love to have sex or intercourse.
That they have a right to seeking pleasure.
Yeah, of course. because this is still not in our minds. We're not educated in this way. We still are there to please men. And if you look at internet pornography nowadays, the mainstream internet pornography, it shows exactly the same idea about female sexuality.
Barbara, let's just pause for a moment, because there is a movement in some countries to educate people about the clitoris, a female organ that many still don't know much about, as Julia Kim reports.
Women are lucky, this video says. They get to have the only organ in the human body dedicated exclusively to pleasure, the clitoris. Lucky, but not necessarily well informed. A 2016 poll found that 1 in 4 French girls under 15 didn't know they even had a clitoris, while 83% were unaware it's the pleasure center of a woman's body. But even those aware of its existence and function have a hard time recognizing it. We asked passers-by on the street what they thought this image represented.
A root vegetable, something like that?
A pepper, a green pepper.
A kitchen utensil or a thing for giving massages?
What do I think that is? Well, I won't say.
It's a woman's sex organ, right?
It's a clitoris, no?
It's no alien, but it's still a thing of mystery. Loathed, feared and associated with hysteria, female pleasure has long been neglected. The first ultrasound of a clitoris took place in 2008, and be it in hospitals or in schools, even today, this sex organ remains taboo. To fill the knowledge gap, women have taken to social media, publishing pictures of the clitoris and creating web series and videos to break the silence. Sophia Wallace, a feminist artist, created Clitorisy, a mixed media installation challenging the misrepresentation of women's bodies and sexuality.
There's a crisis where women are not actually having pleasure, despite the fact that their sexualized bodies are everywhere. What I want people to get from my art is to talk about the clit, to think about the clit, to treat the clit on equal terms as the penis. All the language that we have in English in terms of profanity goes back either to female genitals or the idea of what happens to them. Being on the receiving side of penetration is this shameful act. There's something done to your body that makes you less and less worthy. We need more language and we need to get outside of this frame.
In France, a petition is circulating online to study the clitoris at school.
Watching that report with me is Barbara Miller, the director of the documentary Female Pleasure. A kitchen utensil that gives massages was one response in that report, which is very, very funny. But as we saw there, knowledge is incredibly powerful, isn't it? And obviously it's the case of teaching both men and women about the importance of female desire and sexuality. But is education enough to change deeply seated cultural attitudes?
I think, like you see in #female pleasure, it really helps. I mean, Leila Hussein is showing young Somalis from London how FGM is working and that there's the clitoris, how it works, and it's changing their mind. Because before they are all for, they accept it totally, say, I can't marry any woman who hasn't undergone FGM. Seeing what it really means, for them it's torture. How can we do that to our girls? So I think knowledge helps a lot. And of course, also breaking the taboos and start talking about everything. That helps totally.
And there are some men who feel rather threatened by this sort of reappropriation of the female body and female sexuality. Are they right to be scared?
Oh, I think not at all. Because in the end, if women are feeling more pleasure, it will be more pleasurable for men and women. But of course, in the first moments, maybe it's a little bit scary that you know that your partner is not just like an object or trying someone who tries everything to do for your pleasure. But in the end, if both are more relaxed, are talking more often, can express their feelings and their desires, sexuality will be much more beautiful for both of us,
Barbara,
for both of them.
What has been the response to your documentary?
The response for me is overwhelming. I would have never ever thought, and in so many parts of the world, there are women and men being totally enthusiastic. I mean, this feeling of solidarity with these 5 women, but this feeling also of possibility to change, because these 5 women, they went through really difficult things, but they show us also that change is possible, that you have, when you have solidarity, when you have this movement together with men, we can change the world. And female pleasure finally can be like a totally accepted and beautiful thing. And for me, it's extremely rewarding that, yeah, the response is so open and so beautiful and so largely spread.
Barbara, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's it for now. You can also connect with us via our Facebook page, that of course being France24.51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. So until our next show, bye for now.